How you doing?
Not bad, how are you?
All good, all good.
So what's going on?
What's your name?
I'm Adam.
Adam, nice to meet you. I'm Coach Joplin. Well, as you know, Katie, one of my golfers, decided to go out and play intramurals and slipped in the mud and got a concussion. And I saw her literally 2 days ago. She seemed perfectly fine. And I decided I asked the head AT, I did my job, and asked the head AT if I could go ahead and put her back in the weight room, and he said no.
Okay.
So, is there any, my question is, like, if I'm the certified strength coach, like, why can't I just go ahead and put her back in the weight room?
Okay, so the way we manage concussions is based on symptoms. So it might appear that when you see them, just when they're not doing kind of any exertion or not having any cognitive stress, they don't have any symptoms. But concussions are functional injuries. There's not some way to measure objectively how well their brain's functioning. We have to go based off their symptoms. So the safest, you're talking about the brain, so I know that it's your job to keep your athletes in shape, but you just have to be safe with their brain. So you have to lead them back to returning to play gradually, so you go through stages. So the first is, depending on the concussion, usually they don't go back to school for a few days. And then, so if they're fine with no symptoms reoccurring after those 24 hours, then you can go into just kind of like basic, like balancing proprioception stuff to see if just like general kind of like not even full, like full speed, full movement. It's just kind of general simple things to see if their symptoms are increasing, and then so you progress them on to the next phase after each one. So after balance and proprioception, then you go into very light, like almost like body weight kind of isometrics, maybe on the bike, just to get them reacclimated with movement. So once you get up to the point where they can do kind of like their skills at full speed, you just go to that 24-hour mark, and anytime they don't, they start having symptoms again, then you have to go back to the last phase. Because like the way, like, is your client a college athlete?
Yes.
Okay. So hopefully the athletic trainer, the head AT, did the baseline concussion testing. So we've got how they feel at a normal baseline. So the goal with returning them is to get them to that baseline regardless of what their activity level is. So hopefully they also took a test right after the concussion to see where it's, like to compare the baseline to when they're concussed. So we're trying to bring that concussed state back down to baseline. So that's why hopefully they're reevaluating each of the symptoms and trying to get them back to normal.
Okay, so when are we looking at seeing her back at 100%, you think?
You said she did it falling?
She did it falling, yeah.
And then how long was she, was this like a weekend? Did she have to go to classes or anything?
No, it was literally, it was like their intramural flag championship.
Gotcha. So you got her at intramural state and stuff.
Yeah. Slipped and fell, hit her head.
But just, I don't know, I don't know the person, I don't know their symptoms, but usually, I mean, you said she looked fine, so extrapolating a little bit off that, it shouldn't be longer than a week at most. It just depends on how, once we kind of reintroduce her to some exertion, if that aggravates her symptoms. So hopefully it won't. Do you know if she's had them in the past?
No, she doesn't really. She's very to herself about that kind of thing. She's an athlete. Okay. She doesn't like to explain. She'll admit injury.
Yeah, I understand.
So, I guess in that case, you know, you talked about exertion. So the coach is going to be down my back, obviously. So
yeah, sorry about
that. It happens. And Katie's one of my hardest workers, so she's going to get back to the weight room. Is there anything that I can do in the weight room to kind of help the process? Because, I mean, here's the thing. Like, we're doing squats, bench, and plyos. Like, that doesn't affect the head at all. Like, I don't see why I can't just do those.
Well, those, like I said, those are the ones that if if there was some type of exertion that might exacerbate symptoms, it would be this, just because of the amount of stress on the body. But my kind of advice for what you could work on is going back to basics, like especially with golf, like mechanics and form are extremely important, and it doesn't hurt to go back to the basics. So you could even work on just kind of when she gets to that kind of proprioception phase and she gets through that, you could even just work on her watching her strides and her swing and her movement, and then after that maybe move on to where you use some resistance bands and kind of like just light drills to get her movement back, because the if I understand correctly, like general anaerobic adaptations like working on plyo, building hypertrophy, and neuromuscular recruitment, those can you do lose them fast, but you can also gain them fast, and it's more important to not lose skill and movement. So if you work on it, and that that really shouldn't, when she gets to that phase, and you kind of communicate with the AD, then that shouldn't really be a problem. It's like a baseball player, like if they can go through a pitching windup without exacerbating themselves, they can work on that form, and you can break it down into each segment and work on you can have them stand there and work on one leg balance if you want. And so I'll let you decide talk with Katie about what skills and movements that she thinks she can work on, so you can break it down each phase of her swing and work on those individually, and then hopefully she'll progress normally and get back into plyo. And I know it's frustrating being delayed, but
makes sense.
Yeah, and sometimes coaches are stubborn, but that's just how it is.
Yeah. Well, I have a meeting with him later this week, so is there any way that we could kind of go through what we talked about today, like you give me a report or whatever you guys are doing in the AT room and stuff like that, and I could kind of try to balance that out?
Yeah, so I can try to get her documentation about how she's progressing symptomatically.
Okay.
And then I can give you and the coach things to look for as to our goals of the absence of some symptoms, or even symptoms that we'd want to look out for. But that's definitely okay. Getting some documentation about what our goals are and what things to look out for.
All right.
Would be perfect.
Sounds good. Thank you
All
much.
right. Yeah.
Good to meet you, Adam.
Good luck. Take care.
You too.